Okay, now that you're familiar with the PowerPoint slide and how everything is supposed to get connected together, let's go ahead and do the end-to-end check of the electronics. So the first thing we need to do is open all the packages that we have. There's a styrofoam box that will, something like that. Open that up and you have your transmitter and your receiver. The transmitter will look like this, and the receiver will be a small black box that looks like this. Inside it will have some instructions. They're pretty sparse, but read through them so that at least you have some familiarity with what we're going to do. The next thing to open up is you should have packages with 3 5-gram servos. So these are HX 500, that's a 5-gram servo, and it has leads that come out that look like this that we plug in. Battery. Your battery should come at we have LiPo batteries that should look something like this. They should come at about 50 to 60% charge if you haven't used them yet. So, but if you have a battery checker, go ahead and plug it in and check it. You open the box that has the ESC. So the ESC will come in a plastic package, not a box, but it'll look something like this right here, and it'll have a red, white, and black plug on it, a battery plug on it, and 3 leads coming out that we will solder to go to the motor later on. Okay, so those are all the parts that we need to do the end-to-end check. Let's go ahead and get everything powered up and try it out. So the transmitter, if you look on the back, there's a cover that you can slide down to take off, and this has a carrier in it that holds 8 batteries, so you can see 4 here. If I pop this out, there are 4 batteries on the other side, so you'll need 8 AA batteries to power your transmitter. And then make sure that it's seated properly so that you can shut your cover properly so that the batteries are securely in there. And I'm going to check it out to make sure that it's working. In fact, I get a flashing green light and it goes solid, which means I'm good to go. So I'm going to turn this off and set it aside. That's ready. Now the next thing is to put the receiving end of things together. So this is the piece that's going to go on the airplane, the receiver, and into this we are going to plug our servos and our ESC. So the servos have those 3-prong plugs, and the receiver has marked on it what the channels are. So it's got marked channels 1 through 6, and then an ID set, which is the bind plug, which we may have to use, but for right now we're just going to go through and assume that it's bound from the factory. So in channel 1 we have our aileron servo. So take your servo that's labeled A and plug that into the first connection. And the way that you plug that in is with the orange wire or the signal wire toward the center of the receiver, and the brown or black ground wire to the edge, the outside of the receiver. So the signal wire goes toward the middle, and the ground wires are toward the edge of the receiver. So channel 1 is the aileron, channel 2 plugged in the elevator, channel 3 is the throttle, which comes from the ESC. So I have that one plugged in from the ESC here. And then channel 4, which I'm going to plug in now, is my rudder. So ground wire to the outside, and this gets plugged into channel 4. So now all my electronics are plugged into my receiver, and this should be ready to go. Make sure these are all in good and tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my transmitter and turn that on. And then I'm going to take my battery and plug that into my ESC. And the light on the, if it's bound properly, the light on the receiver should be green. And now to check that everything's working properly, I can go ahead and check out my input to my output. So here's my aileron servo, and when I give it an aileron command, that aileron moves. Okay, and then I can check my other surfaces. The one labeled elevator. So I give it an elevator command, and my elevator moves. And the rudder, which I don't have a control arm on, but I can hear it, and the rudder is moving. So all of my servos are wired up to my transmitter. Everything is working properly. Now, I'm done checking everything out, it works. Now I'm going to unplug things. It's a good idea to get into the habit of unplugging the battery from the ESC on the airplane first. So we're going to unplug this first and then turn off the transmitter. By doing it that way, we ensure that when we have the motor powered, that by turning off the transmitter, sometimes you can get a spurious signal to the throttle, and you don't want that to happen. So the first thing you always do is turn off unplug the battery from the ESC. Okay, so that concludes the checkout of the electronics, and now we can look at getting everything installed on the airplane.